What is going on, fellow PAL enthusiasts? I hope your day is going well, and if you're here, that means you're looking for a Lifmunk spotlight. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive on what I think is one of the most overlooked PALs in the early game especially. And while we'll get into why it is great to have at your base, one of the best parts of having a Lifmunk is the crazy burst damage you can do once you unlock the submachine gun at only level 11. And once you're able to craft the Lifmunk SMG, you will unlock its special PAL ability, and that is called Lifmunk Recoil. Activating Lifmunk Recoil will call the PAL directly to you, pulling out an SMG. Anything that you then are attacking, aiming, or swinging at will then be shot by your Lifmunk up on the top of your head. Let's talk about a couple of pro tips while using a Lifmunk SMG. And one of the things you'll kind of notice right away is if you're not using a weapon that can zoom in or aim like a bow, you'll actually have to aim just slightly to the right of your target to land any of your shots. If you don't do that, you'll actually miss out on kind of a lot of shots because it, for some reason, doesn't exactly aim right where the cursor is unless you're using something like a bow. And that's probably my biggest tip while using the Lifmunk SMG. You want to pull out your bow, aim the bow, and then once you pull it back, it will actually just automatically fire. You don't actually even have to shoot any of your arrows. If you're quick enough, you can swap off of your bow and not shoot your arrows out. But you do have to remember this ability goes pretty quickly because it does dish out kind of a lot of damage, and then it does take kind of a while to get it back. So you want to make sure you're adding basically all the different follow-up attacks, pulling out maybe a different PAL after you use it. That's actually a really good way to kind of utilize that because it is essentially just kind of a regular PAL after that. It just will throw out whatever attacks it has. But when you do get that Lifmunk Recoil activated, you can do some absolutely silly stuff with it and just trash tons and tons of enemies. One of my personal favorite ways to use a Lifmunk is, especially early game, going into the dungeon that kind of is backtracking along the area where you first spawn in, because that dungeon is a fairly low level dungeon and you can jump in there and get a whole bunch of kills with your Lifmunk SMG. The enemies in there, a lot of it is just syndicate thugs, of course, and they're not necessarily too big of a pain for any PAL in particular, but it's just a really great way to not really have to use a whole lot of resources in the beginning. Maybe you don't really have a PAL that can dish out a huge amount of damage like that. The other way is to find maybe a alpha PAL that's out on the plains. Something like this Chillet will absolutely take huge damage from this Lifmunk SMG to the point where, I mean, it's really essentially a free kill. And this ability is great for attacking different things, similar like this Chillet as well. We got a respawn on it, and I didn't want to necessarily kill it here. We want to capture it. So we use the SMG to deal huge amounts of damage really quickly, get its health pretty low really fast, and then you can follow up with as many PAL spheres as you need to, because now this Chillet, look, it's on 7 health out of 1100 or something like that, and it made this boss catch a little bit easier. I mean, it still is only a 30-ish% catch rate since I'm not burning it or adding another status effect or anything like that, but for the most part, you can really cut down your PAL ball usage very hefty. You're not going to be going through tons and tons of PAL balls like that, and namely arrows. That's one of the biggest things in the beginning is, you're not really going to be crafting huge amounts of arrows, and so having something like this, even at just level 11, can help you save on tons of ammo, and that's really important. And since this is an ability where you direct the damage, you kind of call the shots on when the Lifmunk stops attacking that PAL or other enemy you're going for. So if it's a Nightwing like I wanted to catch right here, I really don't have a big problem with that because the Nightwing, I can get it down really low and then just stop shooting at it. It won't take any more damage from my Lifmunk so long as I'm not actively aiming and pressing the left mouse button or the trigger for whatever you're playing on, if you're playing on PC or Xbox. And a bonus is if you can get a Lifmunk with something like Ferocious. This Lifmunk I'm using actually does have Ferocious, so that's 20% extra damage for free. So whenever you can stack something like that, I always recommend that you do so. And since Palworld is in early access still, you know, you'll run into more than a few bugs. For instance, being lifted straight up into the air. We're just ascending now, and when I deactivate the ability, that seemed to be what was causing the problem. So you're definitely gonna have to watch out for things like that. Not only ascending, but you're definitely gonna need to watch out for your descending through the mesh underneath you. This particular instance where I activated the ability pushed me down into the ground, and now I can't do anything. I can't actually even shoot at the Jolt Hogs over there after we just took out all those Syndicate thugs, so watch out for that. And if you've been using Lifmunk for burst damage, let me know in the comment section down below, and if you haven't, tell me what pals you do enjoy for quickly bursting down a boss's health bar. And beyond burst damage, the main reason that I like to have a Lifmunk early in the game is because of its abilities in your camp. You can find these pretty much anywhere that they are to be found on the plains where land balls and stuff are, but these things are great because it's an early way you can make medicine. So if your pals are running low on sanity and they start to get weakened or depressed, you can use a Lifmunk. Really great right here to just craft some medicine, because it does take a super long time and you don't want to be sitting at a medicine bench crafting medicine for days. Additionally, you can use it to craft things just in regular workbenches. It's got a handiwork skill as well, which is super fantastic, and you know, it definitely gets the job done where you have certain other things like pangolins and stuff that can do those as well. But you can really double up on a lot of things here, like harvesting. Harvesting is something that takes a super long time, but if you have a Lifmunk, it will definitely automate that for you, and you can get in there and get your red berries that much quicker. And once you're finishing harvesting those red berries, your Lifmunk will also just start planting right away. So it's really got a lot of super useful abilities, and the bonus ability that you wouldn't necessarily think it would be good at while looking at it is lumbering. That's right, it can be assigned to a lumber yard here and actually get you tons of wood as well. If you don't really have access to Ike the Deer yet, or if you haven't grabbed one of those, you can still be getting some wood automation going early in your camp. If you did enjoy this PAL Spotlight for Lifmunk, go ahead and leave me a like down below. I really appreciate it. And I do plan on putting out a few more of these PAL Spotlights, especially for the ones that aren't getting a lot of love out there right now. I know that there's always a ton of videos about the absolute most meta pals in the game, but I really think Palworld is one of those games where you can pretty much use whatever you want, and I definitely want to highlight that as well. So if you have a favorite pal, please don't be afraid. Leave me a comment down below and tell me why you like it, and I'd love to cover it. Thank you all again for stopping by, and until next time, be without form, swift as lightning.